Oi, what's going on, GameLeap? This is the Jizz, and in today's video, we're going to be watching an Iron 4 game together. And I want to do it with you guys because I need some emotional support to get through this. And after analyzing a lot of high elo games recently and telling you guys about the best champions to pick in the next patch, I thought why not make it a bit more fun and head down to the lowest division in League of Legends to show you guys what's up. Now, if I was to analyze every little detail, we would be here until Christmas. So we're going to watch the key highlights of this 1 in 15 performance in Iron 4 and react to them. And expect some tips along the way as well, which will help you out. No doubt, even though this is Iron 4, some of us are still going to make the same mistakes this dude makes. So show some respect, that's the first thing. And the second thing, make sure to check out the GameLeap website, GameLeap.com, for everything you need to escape Iron 4. I mean, you're probably not in Iron 4, but still, after coaching rank 1 EUS, I don't care what rank you are going to learn from the content that not only I'm uploading to the website, but all of our Challenger tier coaches and players. We are uploading content, guys, that is guaranteed to help you improve and climb on the Rift this season, so sign up, links in the description and comment section. So let's get into this gameplay, and here we have Silas waddling down the river. What's he thinking? He's put a ward on top of himself. No doubt this dude wanted to put a ward down in that red brush, and he can't even do that. I don't even know, to be honest. Maybe he was doing it deliberately to tilt the enemy. Like Morgana sees him walking over, and he's like, psych, I'm gonna put the ward down here instead of in the brush. Now, what happens next? Let's have a look. So he's waddling around still in the river, and then he gets hit by Morg binding. Now, this guy moves like a lot of people. Even up until maybe gold and platinum, people will still move like this. They move like bots. And what I mean is that they move in straight lines opposite the enemy champion. So where Morgana is and where Silas is right now, lots of lower level players will just run straight back or straight towards a Morgana. There's no lateral movement, guys. So when the enemy champion is about to throw a skill shot, or you think they are, move to the side. Incorporate that into your game. And it also helps keeping your mouse close to your champion here in order to do so. Now we continue here into the early laning phase, and look at those chains. That could have been the best use of a Silas E I've ever seen. Doesn't even worry about the Morgana, just uses it on the minions because he's that much of an alpha. Walks up and just takes auto attack harass as well. This guy gives zero you know what. Now as he's back up, I'm really excited to know what he's going to do here. Exactly the same thing. Doesn't even worry about hitting the Morgana or applying any pressure onto her. Just ease onto the minions. This is something, guys, you can do in your games to look really hardcore. I recommend doing it if you really want to tilt your opponent. Same thing again though, right? Look how he gets hit by the Morgana Q. So one of the things, guys, I talked about the lateral movement. One other thing or tip that is really going to help you is if you look at the enemy champion. So where Morgana is throwing this Q from, if you just look at her, you can see her champion in that animation, right? This is going to alert your senses, and what you're going to do as a result, you're going to dodge that Q a lot more often. Because what most people do is they don't look at the enemy champion or the enemy threat, and they react to it way too late because they're tunnel visioning on themselves. So if I draw a circle around Silas here, that is most people's field of vision. I want you to change that scope and just move it to the left onto this enemy champion, because what's funny is your peripheral vision is still going to control your own champion. Because if you look at Morgana, you're still going to be able to see yourself and control your movement. This is so important, and this will improve your micro tenfold. Now, something else you guys can do to look really alpha is to E into the enemy tower and then E back to the cannon minion or whatever minion is in front of you to dodge the next tower shot. This again is just playing mind games with your opponent, saying, bro, I can take a tower hit and I'm still going to crush you in this lane. This is the ultimate Iron 4 strategy. Now, this next highlight's a funny one as well. Look at where this Silas is running. He just walks in a straight line straight into Morg. Bro, you can move to the left and to the right. You don't just have to move forward and backwards. You know, it's like watching one of those World War I tanks where they just have forward and reverse. Bro, we need to incorporate a bit of lateral movement here, sidestepping a few things. And I also like it how he just runs straight into Morgana. Like, doesn't even run through the creep wave, so he has some like minions blocking your Q. Just straight into the space where he can get Q'd and he dies as a result. Very nice. Now, our friend TP's back to lane, and look what he's doing here. This is actually really good. Thinning the wave out, making it more controllable, trying to keep it in front of his tower, and then he chases the Morgana. This is actually pretty nice. And he even manages somehow to dodge that Morgana binding. Honestly, I don't think Faker would have played that better. That was insane. Okay, so Morgana is overstaying here, guys. Look at her resource bar. Look at her HP and mana, right? She's she's low HP. She doesn't have the resources to stay in this lane, but she's deciding to, which means in your games, unlike this Silas, I want you to keep the wave in its position as long as you can. This is going to force the Morgana to stay in lane for longer than she really wants to, instead of you just hard pushing the wave into her and letting her off the hook. Now, it's still not that bad, but again, we want to punish these guys as much as possible. So if they're overstaying in lane, slow push it. Last hit the minions at its lowest HP possible. But to be fair to Silas, he actually does pretty well here and chunks some Morgana, and then he goes for a roam, but I hate this roam. Oh, guys, if you want to punish your opponent and not punish yourself, shoving minion waves before you roam is so vital. This is going to create time for you to then go and make a play elsewhere on the map, because you're not going to lose as much in your lane. So before you go to roam, even if you you should roam immediately, it's always going to be consistently good if you shove the wave out and then go. Do not leave the wave when it's in such a bad position like this Sylas does here. So we continue back in the mid lane after he goes to roam for nothing, and that was the most unreal dodge I think I've ever seen, eh? Did you guys see that? This guy has E'd the Dark Binding. He even saw it coming like 3 seconds before it came out, and he has E'd to a minion to dodge it. Now that is nuts. Now it looks good, don't get me wrong, but to be honest, it's probably inefficient because you don't even need your E to dodge the Dark Binding if you are looking at the enemy champion, which is the point I was making earlier, guys. If you could save your cooldown and waste theirs, it's so good for you. But just based on mechanics, this Iron 4 player should get massive props for that. I was not expecting it, and well played, sir. Unfortunately, though, this wannabe Dyrus on Singe decides to run into the enemy tower and tower dive them all, which probably isn't bad, but unfortunately in this elo, you're putting yourself and your teammate in a position to play it, well, kind of perfectly if you want to survive, and unfortunately Sylas ends up dying here. So in your game's GameLeap, if you think your teammate is running it down, just let them. Don't do anything. Do not put yourself in their shoes because you are going to lose. Now, unfortunately, our man Sylas is going to die to another Morg Binding here, and exactly the same thing. Think about these skill shots, guys. This is why Blitzcrank, Morgana, they're so annoying to play against in lower levels of play. This is because people don't respect the space. So if there's space between you and the enemy champion, there's a line of sight, you're going to get hit by stuff if you put yourself in that space. So a simple strategy is to just stand behind the minions and nothing bad is going to happen. You're staying safe. It's never a bad thing staying alive. Do not give away free kills by standing in the open. Now, as Sylas is waddling back to lane, something happens here. There's a bit of a fight around the Raptor area and he decides to go in to try and save the inting Singed again. Now, just based on numbers here, just look at this, guys. This is a 2v3 and look at Sylas's cooldowns. He doesn't have his ultimate here, so in terms of cooldowns, if the enemy champions have theirs, they are in a cooldown deficit. But what's more important here is just the fact that this is a 2v3 and Sylas most of the time is never going to win this situation. So in your games, when there is a fight between multiple enemy champions and champions on your side of the rift, make sure to count the numbers of that fight, and if you just play according to those numbers, this is going to be a lot more consistent than just going in there and winging it and hoping it will end out well. And what happens as a result? Sylas again tries to be really alpha and just face tank the Morgana Q and ends up dying again. Now, after shoving the mid wave out, guys, and the bot side of the map ends up picking up 2 kills here, Sylas makes one of the biggest 5-head plays I've ever seen. He decides to roam bot, share turret gold, and to take a minion wave off the Fed of Felios. So if you want to stop your own progress and your teammates' progress, make sure you do this in your games. But no, seriously don't. What you're doing really from a team's point of view is you're not being efficient. You're taking gold that your teammates can get while missing gold yourself. Like look in the mid lane right now. Morgana is shoving mid and these are minions you could have gotten, or you could have even gotten tower plates instead for yourself. And if we forward this to about 10-20 seconds later, there's a fight that breaks out and he ends up dying because the Singe baits him in again. Again, this concept of your teammates baiting you. If you know your teammates are trolling or making a really bad play, let them make the bad play. You're not going to lose anything by staying alive. Again, that is so important. Do not give away free kills. Now, he's still level 7 here, this Sylas, because minions at this point in the game don't mean anything. It's all about Fiesta fights. So what he does here is kind of good. He ends up chaining the Morgana, which is actually a really clutch chain. If he doesn't land this, I think Singe dies, but he ends up landing it and kills the Morgana with the Singe. Now, what happens after this, just look at these mechanics. This is bot versus bot. Sylas bot versus Tahm Kench bot. Why are they both standing still? Move, bro, move. It's like a Mexican standoff. They just face each other and fight to the death. Guys, moving is so important in these little micro situations because it's going to be harder for the enemy champion to land their skill shots if they have them, like a Tahm Kench tongue, and it's also going to give you time for your cooldowns to come back up if you're running away from them. This means that instead of just auto-attacking you, they're spending that time to actually catch up to you instead. Now again, straight out of base, Sylas decides not to go to the mid wave, which is the most consistent way of scaling in a game, and he decides to run into the level 10 Morgana. And could someone tell me why he doesn't run north? Why does he run south into the Olaf and the Ashe here? Just run through the blue buff area, bro, and you'll be sweet, trust me. Instead, again, this is the thing, guys. He is just that alpha that he decides to take this on to tilt the enemy champions. They just cannot believe this player is this confident in his own abilities. And same mechanical problem after taking this fight, just decides to stand still and turn into Sylas bot. And this pretty much spells the end of the game here, guys. But the big glaring error for me is the fact that this Sylas is only level 7 at like 15 minutes in this game. Really be level 7 at around like 7-8 minutes in a game, not 15 minutes. And the reason for this is just because this player and lots of players in low elos don't respect minion waves enough. They are, as I said, the most reliable way of scaling in a game because they're always giving you golden experience. When you're chasing kills and just fiestering all the time, like Sylas bot, you are going to miss out on so much across the rift. Now, there might be one game in 1,000 where fighting non-stop is the correct decision, but even if you were to just sit mid, even in that game, it's still going to give you the resources in terms of golden experience you need to scale and actually be useful in a game. So hopefully this video was a fun watch and gave you an insight onto what really happens in Iron 4. And if you want a bit more fun content like this, let me know down below by leaving a like. And until tomorrow's video, remember to check out the GameLeap GameLeap website as well, by the way, on your way out. This has been the Jizz. Bye.